Guthrie, who authorities say was abducted from that house nearly a week ago. You can see agents using flashlights on the property, and lights are visible inside the home. As we mentioned earlier, officials are also reviewing the authenticity of a new message sent to a local TV station, purportedly from whomever has Mrs. Guthrie. CNN's Brian Todd has more on that and the plea from authorities for the public's help in this case.
A new message regarding the search for Nancy Guthrie. A message sent via email to CNN affiliate KOLD, according to a reporter there. A message the station is not sharing the specifics of, but which adds new urgency to the case.
The biggest concern going forward now is time. We have a person out there who's missing, who needs her medications, who is a person very much at risk, and time is not on our side on that.
Criminologist Dawn Cecil believes the Nancy Guthrie case has crossed into the crowdsourcing realm, where law enforcement not only asks the public for tips, but also solicits the public for things like surveillance video.
We take leads from everywhere. Where those leads take us, we'll get there.
Crowdsourcing for leads, Cecil says, can backfire with an avalanche of information that can distract investigators.
There's going to be a lot more of the junk, for lack of a better term, than there's going to be those actionable pieces of information.
Cecil says that was the case in the investigation of the 2022 Idaho University student murders, when police cast a wide net for help and amateur internet sleuths got out of control.
You had especially the true crime TikTokers inundate that area, and they tried to make content in the guise of trying to solve this case. And what you ended up seeing were false accusations, false leads.
The Guthrie case has already drawn its share of TikTok detectives weighing in.
I'm a forensic scientist and a former CSI. Let's talk about the evidence.
Because it's a high-profile case, the name of this game is CYA.
So I just have questions as to who ordered the Uber, why did she Uber?
But Cecil says crowdsourcing can also help investigators, as it did in the 2021 Gabby Petito murder case, when bloggers helped authorities locate Petito's van.
A family who had seen information about where Gabby had been, they looked at their own dash cam video, and they were able to locate the van. They were able to work and find where Gabby's body was.
Former FBI Special Agent Steve Moore says all that information has to be cross-referenced.
What they're going to be looking for in all these tips are parallels between different tips, similar names, similar locations, people with similar backgrounds as possible suspects.
Steve Moore says when investigators ask for that kind of data and information from the public, about 90% of what they get back is not useful. He says the crazy information from people on the fringe is pretty easy to handle because you can toss that out quickly. It's the information that seems plausible, Moore says, that's more difficult because often, he says, investigators spend a lot of time chasing down that information before determining it's a dead end. Anderson?
Brian Todd. Brian, thanks. I want to bring in two retired FBI special agents. Richard Kolko worked as a crisis negotiator, and Michael Easter worked for more than a decade with the Bureau's Cellular Analysis Survey team. Richard, what are your thoughts on this second purported message delivered like the first one to a media outlet?
I think it's a good thing. Let's go on the assumption that we've heard that it may be a valid message, because what we heard in the first one was they did not want to negotiate. There was a line in that first letter that said there will be no negotiation. What they probably has happened now is they've heard the pleas from the family. They realize how important this was. They've heard the pleas from law enforcement, and they probably came to the realization that if they are in this for the money, they are not going to get the money unless they can provide that proof of life and proof of possession. And that's why this note, this electronic communication, could be helpful once law enforcement determines if it did come from the same person.
Michael, we know the FBI has been putting a lot of assets into the region, I assume including members of your former team. What kind of, obviously I don't want to reveal anything that would be damaging in any way, but what stands out to you about where this is now, and what kind of help can the FBI be?
Yeah, of course, we're going to be sending, or the FBI would be sending, the CAS national assets and field assets to that area. And of course, they're going to bring in the ability to not only collect that digital evidence, but then interpret and analyze it in a meaningful and robust way to create new targets that may not have been identified yet, and even help eliminate some people that may have been on the persons of interest list, and hopefully even identify new target locations that might be viable to collect evidence. So yeah, they're definitely there and doing those things. And any work that had been done previously, they would go back over to make sure it was done consistent with the best practice.
Richard, the idea that this person or whoever did it, the person or persons, is communicating through, a local news station in this case now, I guess, assuming it is legitimate, this most recent communication, and not directly with the family as the family has requested. What does that say to you?
It says that that's the path that they've chosen, but let me make it clear, as a negotiator, you want to make it as easy as possible for the hostage takers to be able to communicate with you, whatever that takes. If they want to go through the TV station, that's fine, as long as you get this line of communication established, and then you can determine that the hostage takers are the real people involved. We'll do whatever we can to communicate with them. And this is the people you want to talk to. I know a lot of people want to talk to the mother, talk to Nancy. You want to talk to the people in control. That's the hostage takers right now, unfortunately. But whatever you can do to get them to continue to communicate. And we talked about deadlines. Anderson, we talked about that yesterday when we spoke. FBI routinely talks through deadlines. I know it's a lot of stress on the families, a lot of stress on law enforcement, but this could be extended, because if they're in it for the business deal, they're going to do everything they can to keep her alive so that they can complete their part of the deal.
Michael, in terms of cellular communication, things like that, I mean, how much can one do without knowing, an exact location on somebody, or, from a technological standpoint, what can the FBI do?
Right. When we're attempting to identify an unidentified subject, or even develop a device from a location or even an area, the FBI and law enforcement have a couple options for them. And that first one, a lot of us have maybe heard of, is that idea of a geofence. And it's more commonly being transitioned into the idea of an area search. And that area search allows law enforcement to collect signaling information from mobile devices, and to include vehicles that were signaling within the area of interest, and then collected as a business record by your major service providers. Then a second option is still going through that with the service providers, but then asking them for billable usage. There you'd be thinking of mobile devices that were making or receiving calls, text, or having data sessions. So that, I guarantee you, has been done, because I know that CAST is going to be there, and those are the immediate actions that CAST would bring to the table.
Michael Easter, Richard Kolko, I appreciate your expertise in this. Thank you. Just ahead, what Savannah Guthrie